Time for some reaction content. Lately, I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos and I found the channel of this super weird guy who thinks he's really important called Bist Was Du Isst. He claimed that he had discovered a new way of designing plugin interfaces, that they were made by AI. But he made so many mistakes in that process that it was just hilarious, obviously. Green Oak Software, I've never heard of them. Oh my god, how could he never heard of Green Oak Software? Green Oak Software has not only released tungsten and cesium, but also crystal, which is an iconic effect from the golden era of VST plugins. And he just didn't know it, even though he always claims that he loves the golden era of VST plugins. But not only that, Glenn Olander, the guy who is basically the developer of these plugins, has also worked on some iconic other plugins like Omnisphere. But it got even better. Now check out this image that I created. Now you can already see what I mean with the random names. 1APRK. He just pretended like a name that sounds like random letters can be compared with a name that literally represents a chemical element with the symbol CS and atomic number 55, which is soft silvery golden alkali metal with a melting point of 28.5 degrees Celsius or something else in Fahrenheit, which makes it one of the 5 elemental metals. Okay, no, but seriously, I was talking a lot of shit in this video and it was a bit awkward. I think it's pretty awesome of you all, my community, that you were all very nice towards me and reassuring that it was not that awkward. That was very nice and I appreciate it a lot, especially considering that a lot of YouTubers actually complain about how toxic the YouTube communities always are. I don't really feel a lot of that. It's mostly positive comments on my channel and that's just awesome. But still, I would still say it was a bit awkward. So then something happened that turned the event and I'm very glad about that as well. I received an email from Glenn Olander in which he said, "I just watched your video about my new plugins." When I read that, I was like, help me please, I don't want to know how it goes on. But then he said, "I just wanted to let you know you shouldn't feel bad about the errors." I even got a good laugh from it. So that felt very nice because I almost thought I was talking so much shit that the developer could maybe get mad at me. And I didn't want that to be a thing. Just because I was a little bit too quick with some of my assumptions, I don't want people to be mad at me. And I'm glad that that wasn't the case. So I wrote, "Hi, yeah, I was terribly misinformed about your history and the names of these plugins. Glad you found it funny. But tell me, was some sort of AI involved in the design process? Because I'm still not sure. The style looks so much like it." And then I got this answer. "Oh yes, absolutely. Part of the reason I created these plugins is because I wanted to experiment with using new tools to create plugin graphics. I'm disappointed in the trend towards simple, minimalistic user interface graphics. I'm a very visual person and need to be inspired by the appearance of a plugin. I saw the potential of using Midjourney to help make compelling graphics and wanted to explore that. I don't think it's correct to say the GUI was created with Midjourney though. I think a more accurate way to say it is some of the background graphics were created with the help of Midjourney. I've always been interested in digital art. For example, see my Facebook page. I will link to it in the description of this video. And this is just an extension of that. I see Midjourney as a useful tool, just like Photoshop." And that was just the most awesome reply I could ever wish to get. Not only confirmed it that I basically had the right feeling in my gut when I saw these images and immediately thought like, okay, something about this is AI, even though some of the reasons that I stated for this were just wrong. But you know, when the overall feeling is correct, then I'm very happy about that because I'm a strong believer in the importance of our emotions when making decisions, because oftentimes we cannot really know things anymore. We can only have a feeling about it, especially when it comes to AI stuff. So I'm glad that this is still more or less detectable with your emotions and that we're not in the age yet where you are completely fooled by AI. That gives me a good feeling. Let's go more in depth about some of these statements. Wanting to experiment using new tools to create plugin graphics. That is a very important point in my opinion, because oftentimes the design of a plugin is not just driven by what the developer wants it to be like, but also by what is most easy easy to accomplish in the programming environment. And I want to give you a little example for that. My first plugin that I ever released was Nell. It was called Nell 19 at first, and it just had 3 parameters with very cryptic labels. One of this was the frequency, the other one was the depth, and then there was the stereo width, and the studio button just enabled the look ahead feature. So these were the features that were part of Nell in the beginning, and it just had one modulator that was automatically attached to the delay, and it was sort of a randomizer so that you can get nice fluctuations. It was kind of a mixture between the drop down thing and the Perlin noise thing that I have in the plugin now. However, I'm regularly asked if people can have this version of the plugin instead of the new version, even though it has way less features, and I definitely know why, because this thing just has a nice flair. Why am I mentioning all this? Because it is just a different way to design a plugin. This was completely created with images that I drew in Sprite, a software that is made specifically for making pixel art. This was basically my first pixel art that I ever created, and that's why it looks a little bit weird, but I think it's good enough to create a nice aesthetic, and this plugin just had a nice aesthetic, and that's cool. While my newer attempts of making plugins, let's take this screenshot, it is all just clean looks, you know, just stuff that I'm basically creating from pure code. I'm not importing any images here. And the cool thing about this is, even though it might have a little bit less aesthetics, it is more functional. You know, you can set it up more easily, you can automate processes in your code so that it's reusable in multiple projects. You can make it easily resizable because it's easier to resize code that generates graphics than just images because of the artifacts of the resampling algorithms of resampling images and everything, you know. So interfaces that look like this are just much more maintainable. And now we are in this weird situation where a lot of people start to believe that flat looks actually look better than skeuomorphic interfaces. But what's really the case is that people have just been conditioned to like this look more because there are so many products out there now with such looks that we are all just now used to it, and that makes us feel comfortable. But I just strongly argue that we are just being fooled by the experience that we make every day, and that these experiences don't just come from our aesthetical feelings, but also from just what is easiest to make. There should always be efforts to try new ways to generate user interfaces that make other approaches friendlier for development again as well. I'm disappointed in the trend towards simple minimalistic user interfaces graphics. Yeah, definitely. Just like I described, I love my simple minimalistic user interfaces, but at the same time, I'm very well aware that I'm doing that because there are limitations on other approaches. I'm a very visual person and need to be inspired by the appearance of a plugin. Yeah, same, definitely. I'm someone who just browses for new plugins non-stop. That's why a large part of my YouTube channel is about checking out plugins, not just about making them. And yeah, when I'm scrolling down pluginsforfree.com and stuff like that, I'm just skipping so many plugins just because I don't really like how they look like and stuff like that. In Germany we say Du Bist Was Du Isst, which roughly translates to you are what you eat, which means like stuff has to fit your style in order to be cool for you. I don't think it's correct to say the GUI was created with Midjourney though. Yeah, I should correct that as well. In my video I made this assumption that the overall layout was made with Midjourney. Apparently it was not, so that's definitely something I was wrong about as well, but I'm glad that I was right about some of the other details, like that individual elements were made with Midjourney. That would come down to my argument about stuff just being unreasonably detailed and sometimes the symmetry things and stuff. I guess that would still count as something that I detected correctly. And lastly, I see Midjourney as a useful tool, just like Photoshop. Exactly. I also am a strong believer that all of these AI stuff, it is basically hyped up a little bit too much. It is not like the most incredible stuff ever. It is just a new tool, and that makes it a little bit exciting now because it is not an old tool. But at the end, it will just be yet another tool. And I can already see that being a thing. When ChatGPT dropped, I was using it for literally everything. And now I'm just using it sometimes when I want to be a little bit funny. Or, you know, when All of the other sources that I can get an information from really don't work, or when I'm just not in the mood for them for some reason, but I'm not even using it every day or something. Sometimes we are made to believe by the media that something has much more hype than it actually has, I think. I mean, I'm constantly being spammed on my smartphone articles that claim that people make tons of money with ChatGPT, and I mean, maybe some individuals do make a lot of money from a good idea that they had with ChatGPT, but I don't think that it's a common thing now that people just randomly get rich just because they use an AI. You still have to have a good idea what to do with the AI. For example, nice plugins. And that's how I end this video.